All right, y'all, let's get into Jesus washing feet and the energy exchange with this kind of going on and drop some points of light on this, okay? Because we are all temple beings and we have an outlet here, an outlet here, an outlet here, an outlet on the butt, and 2 feet that are an outlet, okay? And these outlets keep us in this world in different ways. And our feet keep us grounded. And there's something called reflexology. And since Jesus went off to the eastern side and learned things over there and told them they were wrong and such, and then he came back to the Jews, and the Bible, the textbook of the Jews and such, it has Jesus telling them where they're wrong. And then Paul takes what Jesus taught and he twists it and makes another law and brings in a new Jew. So you have the outward Jew, the inward Jew. All are the dead in Christ, all seeking salvation. All are the synagogue of Satan. Jesus tells us in Revelation 2 and 3. Okay? 2 times he tells you, and he tells you in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that those who are seeking salvation are the Jew. And then you know the Jews are the stolen inheritance. And Jesus was not the second Adam. He was the first, the Alpha, and Adam was the second. And Eve is the Jesus side, who is the knight coming in to save Adam by taking the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And he didn't realize he was working for some pervert and making him work naked in the garden till he had the fruit and said, oh man, I got to cover up my webbles. All right, so it's kind of the same thing now. So as Jesus knew these things that the Jews weren't familiar with, just like today, Americans are taught this, that, and the other. They're brainwashed this, that, and the other. So anybody who comes talking this way or that way or the other, they're not going to hear them. They're all lifted up in their American pride, and that's the lions who just come around and fucking devour you. But Jesus is coming as a lion, and he's going to devour them. Because that nation's going to go away. And they don't know they're being taken to the cross as the Messiah is coming. And he's being given birth now in the physical form. And as that physical form is coming, that toddler is going to come in and destroy its home. The manger. That manger is the main Jerusalem, where the city is, the Babylon, because you got the capital, Jerusalem, over there. And then you have it, where you have the capital, Israel, and Jerusalem over there. And then you have the nation, where the heart, the Judea nation, who set up the capital, who brought you that nation. That's America. That's Judea nation, where it tells you to go from. Tells you to flee from that area. So either way, Jesus, he brought them to the throne. He sat them back. Made them throw back their feet, or throw up their feet, whatever. So whether one foot's down or both feet are up, the person, they're not grounded properly. So he can start coming in and working in electricity in a way, and he's taking a negative and a positive, and he's bringing them together onto that person in a neutral state, and he's creating a positive charge. Okay? So as he creates this positive charge, he can talk or do whatever and put out another energy and a positive charge and do work the light that's around him. Okay? So he chose to touch the feet for a reason, because the hands, they're up in the air. They're not grounded. Okay? The feet are grounded. And when you lift them up, whether one by one or both at the same time, it's going to create an imbalance on the body, and it's going to bring them up into a heaven state automatically. Okay? So, when Jesus created this energy, it would be, it would, you can flow the energy, and that energy flows through the person that it's being done to, or whatever, right? That's where they go out and be like, hey, can you believe you did this or did that? And it goes with anything, like, can you believe I got such a great haircut, or can you believe my nails look so good, or don't you love my new painting, or whatever, okay? But everything is just light exchanging. Everything is frequency exchanging. Everything is positive and negative exchanging. And we have to be able to remain neutral, so we can just have our tree grow where it needs to grow. We don't need to prune things back. We don't need to create shadow areas. We don't need to do any of these things. We just need to let the tree grow upon the world and let it go out its branches. Sometimes you grow this side out, then you grow this side out. Sometimes you grow this side out, then that side out. Okay, that's where the time and season, there's a time and season for everything, because as you grow, and also as you grow, the electrical charges or whatever inside of you change, because the DNA changes daily. Because what we look at, the light we look at, the light we bring in, it transforms us. And the foods we eat, the drinks we drink, the things we consume, it transforms us. And it can transform us in a way where it makes us want to dance, or transforms us into a way where it makes us want to run, or transforms us in a way where we just want to sit back and enjoy the day or whatever's going on, okay? But also, this world is creating the foods and drinks or whatever. That's where it's a time and season. It's not always a time to drink this, that, or the other, because if you do it long term, it's going to shorten the growth of your tree, or shorten the growth of your branches or whatever, right? Because in order, basically, instead of growing the branches out and growing up, right, you're just growing the trunk out and around and around and around. You just keep growing that fucking trunk for whatever reason. Trunk gets bagger and bagger and bagger. Okay? So you don't want to grow your trunk this way, which is what the beast system does or whatever, because the fatter the beast, the fatter the tree or whatever, you just can't uproot that tree and move it. You just can't pick that sheep up and move it. You might have some tool or a shovel or whatever to dig it out, or whatever kind of thing. If you're a nice tree living in this world, you're just growing up and up and up and putting branches and branches and branches, and you're dropping fruits and fruits and fruits. But this world teaches us to keep our to grow our trunks out, or if we grow up, to not spread our branches out. And it's there to prune the tree. So if you prune the tree, you get less fruit and bigger fruit. It might be better to have more fruit and smaller fruit. But it all depends how you work your orchard. In today's world, it's about the evolution race, and we're seeing kind of the man and woman wither away, who believes the division and believes what they're being taught in the world stage, and all of a sudden they're living in fear, living this, that, or whatever. And I've been subject to that. I knew end times is here, blah, 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 back in the day, and I lived my life based on it. And finally it got to some point where you had the abomination coming in, the sun going dark, all weird shit going on, and like, end times is not happening the way I think. And God is telling me to have kids and to get married and all these other things. So in there, he put the wonderful woman there with, gave me the 4 kids. So, and then that gave me a whole nother life that I never knew before. So I've had kind of one life here, another life here. And either way, so basically Jesus just understood the energies of man and how we kind of operated, and how we are all just like each individual focal points of light, and then we are consuming light, and we are sharing light, and we are all light beings, and we're all God's light, and all these other things, and whatever else. But there's also man who is here in the flesh, and he wants to control the light of God. He wants to become the ruler of darkness, to tell you what's good and what's bad and whatever else. So these are the understandings that we need to understand. And Jesus and Satan, they're the same but different. Either way, it's just like America. We have freedom, but at the same time, we don't have freedom. Okay? If you think you live in freedom, you need to go study what freedom is. You have something that looks like freedom, but it's not freedom. And that's exactly what the garden was. It looks like freedom, but it's not freedom, because you can't access that one tree that leads to the other tree. Because the tree of life leads to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And when you take away the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, then you take away the tree of life. And that's where the garden, the cherub has a sword, and those who have that flaming sword have control of that tree of life and that tree of knowledge that's given as that green light that is in the middle of the rainbow that I've talked about in the other videos. What we think of Jesus and what the church teaches as Jesus is a false light, and it's there to blind you. And Paul, he took what Jesus was talking, the energies and whatever of the mind, and he saw Jesus, and he came and brought the law upon man again. And while Jesus died for past, present, and future sins, that includes the shit that Paul was bringing on the church under his cult. And that's why Jesus called Peter Satan, and that's why Jesus said Peter build a church, and that's why Peter and Paul got together to build the church, because they were going from an outward, the flesh, to an inward, the mind. And you got to have an outward and inward kind of thing going on to get the full cycle of man. And then once we get that, we're going into reclaim our throne into heaven, because the outward and the inward has been conquered, and we have worked through the bullshit. And we know that all religions are of violence. All religions are of war for the most part, other than Buddhism. And it's there to divide man. It's there for war. Guns are being made for war. That's the only reason they're getting, that's what the brainwashing is for this final war, and for this final religious war that's going to be going on. And multi-spectrum. But Jesus knows how to work those feet, and that critical race is coming. So I hope you have your Nikes and shit shined up, or whatever's going to be happening. Either way, we'll end it here.